Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are back again. College hoops, coast to coast, with my man Kevin Sweeney. Really excited about, excited about another show. We're of course in March now, so we'll have less and less guests, and we'll have some conversation. But really want to make it about these programs and these coaches, and really excited about tonight. I always am, but we have a special guest to start off the show, and then we'll end the show with some more special guests. But this has been probably the story of college basketball this season, and what a professional, what a way that he's handled it, what a way their players have handled it. And without getting too much into it, without just introducing our guests, we'd like to introduce and have on the new head coach at Wichita State University, Coach Isaac Brown.
Thank you for having me, man. Glad to be on the show.
Yeah, good to have you, man. Good to have you. So congratulations. Most important, you're now in that seat. You're officially the head coach. Now, we were talking before we started, and you kind of had an approach where there was no pressure all along. You kind of felt like, hey, we're going to take this day by day, and whatever happens, happens. But I'm content either way, and that's probably allowed you guys to really have a lot of success.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. You know, when I was given the interim head job, I just wanted to try to make sure these kids were prepared for the basketball season. No matter what, it was going to be a season, whether I was coaching the team or someone else. So I just wanted to make sure the kids were prepared, you know, for practice, making sure they're doing the right things in the classroom and taking care of themselves off the court with COVID. So just wanted to have them prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. What was the biggest transition, Coach? I know, again, we talked a little bit about this off the air, but what was the biggest transition to just one seat over? You're assistant coach, you recruited a lot of those guys, had relationships with those guys, and the next thing you know, you're the head coach. And now you're calling the shots, you're calling the timeouts, you're calling the subs. So you don't get to be quite the same good cop, but just seeing the videos, we can tell that your players have a tremendous respect for you and relationship bond, but you were able to still be the head coach and be highly successful.
I think the biggest thing is two things. You know, as an assistant coach, you make suggestions. As the head coach, you got to come up with something really quick. So your gut feeling a lot of times is what you got to go with. I would say the second thing is the playing time, man. Just trying to make sure everybody is – you can't make everybody happy, and you got to play the game to win. So you may lose a kid here or there, but I just think our guys off the bench have been tremendous, and understanding is about winning. And when you get that opportunity to play, just be ready to go in and make an impact.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys have made about as good of an impact as you can make, finish as well as you can finish. Just talk about this team, Coach. This team is a special team. And when did you figure out that you had a chance to really do what you guys were able to do? Was there a moment? Was there a turning point? Because usually in every year there kind of is. And you guys really have played well the entire schedule.
You know, just good leadership from our returnees. You know, we got a two guard that's really good, Tyson. He's done a great job of just running our team as far as the leadership in practice, in the locker room. But another kid, Dexter Dennis, that started for us last year. He's been a big-time leader. Trey Wade, Morris Udeze. Those guys have just done a great job of carrying these young guys into the season. We got a fifth-year transfer in Al Tariq Gilbert, experienced guy. Another guy that's done a great job in the locker room, and just good leadership. I think that's the key.
Absolutely. Talk a little bit about the staff too. You added a wily veteran. You already had a great staff in place there at Wichita State. Talk about the staff and how you guys were all able to come together for that common goal and be able to, really maximize the year.
That's something that's big, and I think that's helped us along the way. You know, when I first got the interim job, Tyson Waterman was already here. He's done a great job, with recruiting, great relationship with the players. Coach Cadino, who's coached at a lot of different colleges, he backed me 100%, and it was a total team effort with those guys. I felt like I wanted to go out and get a guy that had head coaching experience, and I played for Billy Kennedy some 30 years ago when I was a basketball player at Texas A&M. I've been knowing him since I was in 11th grade. He's been a mentor of mine my whole college coaching career. And I just felt like I needed somebody that I could trust, as well as somebody that had called a timeout before. So hiring Coach Kennedy was a good hire for our whole staff. Like, we get along great.
Yeah, awesome. I'll let Kevin. I don't want to hog all the questions. I'll let Kevin jump in there.
Yeah, Coach, I wanted to ask you about Billy Kennedy, obviously you guys have a great relationship dating back so many years, but, what has his presence meant to your staff, and what have you been able to learn from him this year now that you're in that head coaching position?
Just being patient, being calm, like when you're calling timeouts, not going into the huddle and making quick decisions, just waiting and stuff like that. So he keeps us calm on the sideline. He helps prepare for, games with scouting reports. He does a great job in teaching these guys things on and off the court. He's just somebody great to have on the right side of me. Just somebody that's got a lot of experience, somebody that's won at every level. He was a championship coach at Murray State. He won an SEC championship at Texas A&M. He's done a great job, and I trust him and believe in him a lot.
You often hear about coaches talking about, I have this book, I have this Word document, I have this plan. Whenever I get my head coaching opportunity, I've got it all scripted out. Here's how I want to do it. Now, we've heard a lot of coaches say we couldn't use that script because of COVID. You had even more reasons why you had to kind of throw away the script because of when you were taking over, et cetera. What was it like essentially being kind of thrown into the fire, and what did you do to adapt?
You know what? I just tried to keep it simple. I didn't try to make a whole lot of changes. I wanted to play fast like we've always done. I wanted to make sure we was a team that defended at a high level, rebounded at a high level. But the biggest thing was just playing together and playing for each other. And I think that's the biggest thing. These guys are really playing as one. They got one heartbeat, and that's what it takes to be a good team.
All right, I'm going to bring you way back. You played JUCO basketball. You coached JUCO basketball. What does JUCO basketball mean to you, and what did you learn from those experiences?
Yeah, I coached junior college basketball back in 1999, and I just know junior college always got some great players. At Okaloosa Walton Junior College, is now Northwest Florida. We coached and recruited a kid named Kedrick Brown, who was the first ever NBA player taken in the NBA lottery. He was like the 11th pick with the Boston Celtics. So, at Wichita State, we've done a great job over the years of recruiting junior college players. A lot of times, you got to go out and get someone that's an immediate impact. So there's a lot of good junior college players out there that can help you from day one. And we've had a lot of success with that here at Wichita State.
And you mentioned Coach Kennedy, but who are some other guys who you've leaned on, whether throughout this process, or really throughout your entire coaching career, that you would credit for how you've learned the game and learned how to do with the job you're doing right now?
Rob Evans has been a mentor of mine. I've talked with him almost every day since I first got this job. Donnie Jones down at Stetson, me and him talk on a daily basis. I've talked to a lot of coaches throughout the country, just making sure that we're prepared. And I've been given a lot of help from a lot of different people.
I would ask Coach, let's go back to the SIP, man. And I think the cool thing, we had TJ Terrence Johnson from Texas State on. He talked a lot about how you guys talk and how much kind of advice you've given him through this process. Being guys from the Deep South, what does that mean from you coming from Mississippi? What is that kind of down home background, upbringing? What does that do to help you in your career to be able to handle this situation that, quite honestly, was not an easy situation to handle, but you made it look easy. You made it look easy from a standpoint of just focusing on what matters the most, which is the players. The winning games came after it. You guys got hot towards the end, and there's just a presence that you brought that I think really probably attributes to how you were raised and things that were instilled in you, similar to TJ. So if you don't mind, talk about that, because you carried yourself as a head coach before you were a head coach. Then next thing you know, you're a head coach and you're just the same guy.
Yeah, I was just so happy for TJ. I've been knowing him a long time, since he was coaching at Samford, and I know he's from Louisiana. He's done a great job this year. Want to congratulate him on winning a championship, and good luck in the conference tournament. I just try to keep it simple, man. Just try to keep it 100 with these kids, making sure that they're doing the right things at all times. And those guys, like I said, we got good leadership from the older guys. It's nothing that I've done except try to keep them organized, keep them prepared, keep them in tip-top shape, and just lean on them. It's a players first program, and I told those guys, just take ownership of your team. And that's what they've done.
What about when you played, Coach? So you played high school basketball at a high level. Chris Jackson was a big-time player there. I know you'll tell us about some others. Tell us about the high school days. Tell us about a little bit about your background. Most people don't know how good of a player you even were playing at Texas A&M. And what did any of that stuff help you with along your journey to being successful too as a coach?
I think being around talented guys in high school, I think it can help you recruit because you can see the high ceiling in some guys. Like my high school teammate was a guy named Dale Brown. Dale only averaged 9 points in high school, but he played at Kentucky. I had another high school teammate, a guy named Antonio Harvey. He played in the NBA for 10 years. He played at the University of Georgia. He only averaged like 10 points a game. So just watching those guys develop as players, I think that helps you as a recruiter because you can spot guys who may not be averaging a lot of points, but you can just see that high ceiling at the end of the road. I played against Chris Jackson in high school. Abdul Rauf, he was a big-time player. Laterral Green, who was a big-time player at the University of Georgia. I think it just helps you along the way and playing against guys like that had that type of talent.
Yeah, and then just speaking of talent, Coach, I mean, the Wichita State team was probably not picked to finish where it did. There's another part of talent that's not necessarily physical, God-given talent, and it seems like you guys kind of have that grit and togetherness. You talked about selflessness. You talked about playing for each other. Is that something when you got the job, was there a different thing you had to bring that was your personality? How did you go about kind of leading that? We asked the same question to Terrence when he did the same thing, because that move seems like it's got to be challenging. And again, you guys made it look easy. Is there something that was a focus for you? Or, hey, we're keeping this simple. This is who we are. How did you go about that process?
Yeah, we just kept it simple. The same stuff I'm talking to him about as the head coach, I was talking to him about it as the assistant coach. I just wanted to make sure we were organized, like I said, playing together as a team, having one common goal, and just sticking together as a unit. And those guys have done a tremendous job of, valuing things that we value, like on offense, sharing the basketball, playing together, playing smart, on defense, defending, rebound, playing with toughness. So they've done those things, and those are the keys to good basketball programs.
Absolutely, at all levels. Any funny stories, Coach? Is there any funny stories that's happened along the way that's happened behind the scenes, either during the pandemic shutdowns, or the practices, or the off seasons, or on a road trip that's kind of made the team even just get a laugh or come more together, or is there anything that's happened kind of behind the scenes? Because usually with good teams, you have those funny moments.
Not any funny stories, just making sure everybody, wearing the mask, man. I can't think of any funny stories, but just when we travel, you got to be on the plane double checking to make sure guys not falling asleep with their masks off.
Right.
When we go to the hotels, you got to make sure guys wearing the mask at all times. In the locker room, you just got to make sure. So I was just saying, just being alert and making sure guys are cautious, because if you're not wearing your mask, you can affect a lot of the guys.
Right. How challenging has that been added to? And you probably don't know anything different because it's the only time you've been a head coach. But how challenging has it been coaching during this time of kind of all this unknown and rescheduling of games and keeping the guys focused? I think that's a really challenging thing. A lot of coaches have talked about it. How challenging has that been for you guys?
I've just been telling the guys, we just got to control what we can control. If we can't play in a game and we got to sit out 14 days, when we get back, we just got to get prepared. If another team cancels the game on us, that's out of our hands. We just got to continue to get better in practice. But you got to just do a good job, like I said, just making sure everybody is masked up, taking care of themselves, because we don't want one guy to infect a lot of guys. So we got to make sure at all times, in team meetings, on the bus, in the hotel, when we're watching film, we got to make sure we're keeping the mask on.
Right. And what would you say, Coach, this league is regarded as one of the better leagues in the country, but I don't know if people really understand how high of a level of basketball it is, because maybe it doesn't have that quote unquote BCS by it, or is not considered a quote unquote Power Five. But man, such high level basketball played in that league. Can you talk a little bit about the league in general? You've been in it for a while and now you're head coaching in it. Can you talk a little bit about the league and just let people know how hard and how good the league is?
It's a really good league. We joined this league 3 years ago when we left the Missouri Valley. And the first year we joined this league, it was 5 juniors that all went to the NBA and they all got drafted. So that tells you how talented the league is. You got some great coaches, some good programs, and a lot of athletic kids in this league. It's a good defensive league. You know, people talk about the offense, but defensively it's really good. You got some great basketball minds that are good coaches on both ends of the floor. So I would just say it's one of the better leagues in the country, and they defend at a high level, man. These teams really defend, and they got some great athletes.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. What would you say, Coach, for the Wichita State crew and people that are wanting to know more about the program now? Obviously, they've seen you won at a high level. They've seen the players' kind of camaraderie. What would be kind of your message to a player that or a parent that may be watching that would say, I wonder if we should go to Wichita State? What would you kind of tell them about, you know, what Wichita State looks like going forward?
I would say this: if you want to play in a place that sell out every game, that's Wichita State. You got a beautiful city that's great to live in. The Shocker fans are really good, but it's just a basketball environment, man. There's no football here. We don't wear helmets. Basketball is number one sport in the entire city.
Yeah, and I would piggyback that a lot of great alumni that have played there. I mean, now you guys have a legitimate continual NBA list of guys. Fred VanVleet is a recent one that's really poured out and showed a lot. Ron Baker as well, just showing support for you during this time. I thought that's been really cool. PJ Kuznar, who's a coach in Houston, he's been adamant about it. How cool has it been to just see the outpour of guys that have played there, whether you coached them or not, have just really rallied behind what you're doing there, what you guys are doing as a staff and as the players? What has that been like to kind of see that?
I was lucky enough when I first got here 6-7 years ago. Van Vliet, Ron Baker, all those guys were on the team. It was such a great experience just watching those guys grow and develop. And those kids were just tough kids that always wanted to win. That second year, Landry Shamet was on the team. He actually was on the same team with Fred and Ron, but he broke his foot and he ended up redshirting. And I was able to coach him for 2 years. But just 3 smart, intelligent guys that all they thought about was winning games. It wasn't about how many points they scored. The winning thing was the only thing they wanted to do. Just good basketball players that was not only good players, they were great people.
Yeah, 100%. And how valuable is it, to have such a great network of former Shockers in professional basketball now when you're out recruiting? Like, you could sell, oh man, like Fred VanVleet just got, whatever, it was $100 million to go play. I mean, what's the response in recruiting when you could sell, hey, look at all these pros we produce, look at the success we've had on the court?
It's good. Anytime you call a prospect, the first thing they'll say, didn't Fred VanVleet play at that school, or Landry Shamet? So it helps you in recruiting, the fact that you can call and talk to a kid and he can talk about an NBA guy that played at your university. It does nothing but help your program.
And you might have some future NBA guys on this team, including Tyson in particular has had an incredible season, is continuing to grow. What do you think has been the biggest reason he's been able to improve so much from last year? Obviously, he had a terrific freshman year, but has really continued to add to his game this year.
He just put the work in this summer. He's one of those kids that come in before practice. He stays after practice, get up by 300-400 shots. He's really worked on his ball handling a lot. He's one of those guys that can play multiple positions.
Looks like we may have lost Coach for a little bit. I think he'll be right back. Sometimes we get these strange internet connections.
Who knows what's going on? He's the man, though. I mean, he really is, and done an incredible job. There we go.
Sorry about that, Coach. We lost for a second.
Okay.
I don't know exactly where we left off, Coach, but what's been the most rewarding part, Coach? I mean, again, we know how hard it is just to win games. Not too much about being head coach or anything. I think you're one of those guys that just loves to be a part of the team, no matter what role you have. I'm curious for you, what's been the most rewarding part with this team, just to be able to kind of see the special stuff you guys have put together, and obviously not done yet, more work to be done. We know you guys are focused on that, but what's kind of been the most rewarding part of this whole journey?
I think the most rewarding part is the fact that all the guys have stayed intact. We haven't had any injuries. We hadn't missed any games due to COVID, so they've done a great job of protecting themselves. Because even when we had it, we played in 2 games, So just the fact these kids have stayed together, they're excited about the opportunities. They're playing as one with one heartbeat. Everybody doing what they're supposed to do on and off the court. Just seeing them happy, seeing the smiles on their faces.
Coach, the part about you going back to Chris Jackson, I know you talked about that. If you had to say when you played, Coach, Texas A&M, what were some of your toughest battles as far as somebody you matched up against, and what were some of your favorite performances as a player? Just taking people back to back when you were getting it done, competing.
Well, I didn't do much as a player, so I don't have any favorites. But I would say the toughest teams we played back in the old Southwest Conference was Texas was one of them.
Yep.
With Lance Blanks and all those guys. They had some Terrence Rencher. They had some good basketball teams. Arkansas was loaded. Lee Mayberry, Todd Day. It was unbelievable to go play against those guys. The 40 minutes of hell was really real.
Right.
The guys would press you for 40 minutes, and Nolan Richardson was a big-time coach.
Yo, absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of Nolan Richardson, I know we lost some great pioneers in our game, John Thompson, John Chaney recently. I kind of ask this to every head coach kind of in your position, whether it's Mike Boynton, Dennis Gates. What does it mean now to kind of be the guys, the younger guys that are carrying the torch as head coaches? You're a head coach now. What is that responsibility like? I know we just finished Black History Month. There's not a lot of representation for us in those seats. So those that are in those seats, even more eyes are on and people are looking up to. So what has that been like now for you to kind of be one of the guys that's carrying the torch now going forward?
Just making sure you're doing the right thing. John Thompson, John Chaney, Rob Evans. I grew up watching those guys on TV. They were big influences in my life. I just want to make sure I influence these right kids, whether it's basketball or life after basketball, just making sure they're prepared for the real world and they're doing the right things on and off the basketball court, and they get that college degree so they can have something to fall back on when the ball stops bouncing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You've done a great job with that. And I think one thing that's been impressive, Coach, and I know you're a super humble guy, but your reputation, even going into there in this whole year, there's never been a guy that said much bad about Isaac Brown along the way before as an assistant and then now as a head coach. I think it's incredible to be able to see that reward. What was it like, Coach, when you got the news that you were officially going to be the head coach, you signed the dotted line? What was that moment like, and what was that kind of journey like for you, if you don't mind sharing that?
When I first heard that I was the head coach, I was excited. I was, just so excited, but I didn't want to take anything away. I was just so excited that we could get on to the next day. I was trying to hurry up and let it blow over because I was ready to get back to what was going on, the task at hand. And, I'm just glad that we're past it now, that we can focus on the remainder of the season and we just can continue to compete and play games,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Coach. I'll let Kevin kind of jump in there real quick.
Yeah. Well, what did it mean to see the reaction from your players? Obviously, the video kind of went viral. What did it mean to see how happy they were for you to have the opportunity to, continue to coach them?
It made me feel really good just knowing the fact that they were happy with the athletic department decision to make me the head coach. I was flattered by that. It made me feel really good, like I was doing the right things with those young men. And I was just so excited to be their head coach for the next 5 hopefully 10 years.
Yeah, I like the sound of that, Coach. I like the sound of that. What's the funnest part about this thing? I think it's so obvious your selflessness and you're willing to give and help others and how much you care about these guys. It's so obvious without you even saying it, seeing their reaction, seeing their outpour, kind of the whole season, seeing their support, and again, former players, coaches across the country. What's your favorite part about this thing? Because everybody kind of has a different reason why they coach. And it seems like yours is so rooted in impact and helping those young men. And after you tell us what is your favorite, why is that your favorite part of this thing?
I would say my favorite part is watching guys develop, even if it's developing to be a better student, being better in the community, watching them grow, watching them become grown men, watching guys who are guys coming out of high school who are big time scorers and come to college and then they learn how to defend. So just watching guys develop, the overall part of their entire life. So that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, for sure. Coach, you got any you have any good recruiting stories back in the day? You've recruited some good ones.
Yeah.
Give us a good recruiting story, whether funny or just good. Give us a recruiting story of yourself.
I think my funniest recruiting story is not about me recruiting a certain kid. When I was at Arkansas as an assistant coach, we wasn't rebounding as well as we supposed to.
Yeah.
So I was coaching the big guys, and John Pelfrey was the head coach. And I had to come up with a new drill to try to develop our rebounders. So I called a legendary coach, a guy by the name of Bruce Stewart. You guys probably wouldn't know Bruce, but he was a head coach at Middle Tennessee State back in the day. He won a couple NCAA tournament games. He coached in the CBA, but he was the head coach at Okaloosa Walton Junior College.
Yep.
And I used to work for Bruce. So I called Bruce because I was a young assistant at the time. And I said, Coach, I need some more rebounding drills. Can you help me with another drill before practice start? He said, yeah, Brown. The drill is to get on the road and find a guy that can rebound. So that's my funniest recruiting story. But he was right. You can do all the drills you want. You got to have a guy that can rebound. It's good to have the drills, but it was so funny just to hear Bruce Stewart say that.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Coach, how different is recruiting? You've been doing this for a while. This new generation of kid, the new generation of information, how it travels, even things like this. We're using social media and we're using this digital media. How much has recruiting changed, even with the pandemic and the social media? And how do you still do such a great job with it, not worrying about kind of all this other stuff? What would you say is kind of different recruiting this kid versus the kids before, and how has recruiting changed?
I think the biggest thing is you got to learn how to use social media. I got on all that stuff now because of the kids. They're on Twitter, IG, Facebook. Back in the day, it was all phone calls, but now it's just making sure you're up to date with all the social media stuff. I think the biggest thing as well, too, now, you can watch kids a lot more on the internet, them sending out videos of their self, stuff like that. So just being up on the technology and following all that stuff and following them online is the biggest thing.
Yeah, and then if you don't mind, touch on too, what a reload you guys did as a staff. I mean, had some departures. We all have them now in college basketball with transfers, and to be able to bring in this caliber of talent and bring back the caliber of talent you did, and be able to accomplish the things you guys accomplished. How hard is it now? Just recruiting in this new kind of era of transfer and the portal and everything else. And how do you succeed at that the way you guys have been able to?
You just got to evaluate good. It was great for us. We lost 7 guys. So we immediately had to go out and try to sign 7 more. And we couldn't go out to recruit all the guys we signed. We signed them by being on the phone with them, watching all their videos. So you just got to do a good job of staying in contact with the AAU coaches, the high school coaches, because you never know what you may need late. And I thought we did a great job of going out and getting a few guys late.
Yeah, and kind of off that, I mean, there's expectations that more will continue to change with recruiting, whether that's, name, image, and likeness opportunities for players or, free transfer rules, things like that. How do you envision, recruiting continuing to change, and how do you as a staff, prepare for how, recruiting will continue to evolve in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, you just got to recruit every day. It's not a one-day thing. You have to do it every day. You never know what you may need. You may need all 5 positions. You may not have one scholarship, but when April comes, you never know about the transfers. So you just got to do a good job of staying in contact with all coaches, turning over every rock, watching all videos on everyone that's sending you videos on kids, and just staying up to date, staying in contact with kids, and meeting on recruiting throughout the year.
Who's a guy that you can remember recruiting, whether that maybe was a hidden gem that you found? Give us a story of a guy you found. Everyone's got like their back gym story, their random film that someone sent you that turned into a big time player. Who's the guy you remember recruiting that you dug up and you're like, man, I'm proud of the fact that I found this kid and turned him into a big time player?
We've had a few players, man. I can't think of one off the top of my head. I don't want to leave anybody out, but we've done a good job in, just recruiting guys. We hadn't, it doesn't matter your stars. As long as you're a tough kid, you want to get better, you want to grow as a person and as a player. We recruit, at all levels, high schools, transfer kids, JUCO kids. As long as we're recruiting good, high character kids, that's what we look for.
Yeah, absolutely. What's so Wichita State, we talked about basketball. What about the city of Wichita and the way that they rally behind it? Like, you've been a lot of places, and there's not a lot of places that have the kind of support and energy around the program as Wichita State. What is that experience like, and what would you say for a kid that makes Wichita State the place special, not just the basketball program?
They just love basketball here. Like I said, we don't have football. Basketball is the number one sport in the city. The fans are smart basketball fans. They like players who want to hustle.
Right.
If you dive on the floor, they'll give you a standing ovation.
Right.
If you make the extra pass, they'll give you a standing ovation. And no matter who you play on any given night, it's a sellout crowd. So they really back the basketball program.
Yep.
Fans are really into it. It's just a great basketball city.
I go on off that. So I remember watching the Houston game. Obviously, a huge win for you guys, but the limited capacity to COVID. But the crowd was so darn loud through the TV. I was floored. I was like, how many people are in this gym? They like pan and there's like 2,000 people there, whatever it was. And I was like, this is absolutely unbelievable. First off, talk about your memories from that game, which was an incredible one, but also the energy that those fans give your team on a night-to-night basis.
Yeah, the fans definitely pick you up, especially during the COVID stuff, because you don't get fans in the gym right now. Most places you go, and just the fact that, you can have 2,600 at a home game, your bench has to pick you up. You got to have good energy from those guys, and it just helps you play harder. Anytime you got fans that are cheering, whether that's at home, whether that's on the road, and your bench is getting into it, it just brings your players to play at a different level. And I think it helps all teams, win basketball games when your fan and your bench can all get involved in the game.
Right. Coach, what during this time of the year when you had people reaching out for support and people who was kind of an unexpected, maybe a cool story or cool unexpected, like, wow, this person reached out. Not that it's about that, but I think there's probably a lot of people that probably you didn't even know that were rooting for you during this time that probably came out and maybe said something publicly or privately.
I would say the biggest thing for me, and I'm just not going to say any names,
but
it was about 30 college coaches who I didn't know, like on a personal level.
Right.
I knew by name. They called me, reached out to me, text me, and they all said, Isaac, is any help you need on anything, please feel free to give me a call at any time. So it just shows you our college basketball community, the closeness, the fact that some of these guys I only knew by name and face. I didn't know them on a personal level. For just those guys to reach out to me and just have it an open phone call that said, feel free to call me anytime on anything. So I'm just excited the fact that our basketball community all is pulling for each other.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. What advice would you have, Coach, for young guys? You've been at a lot of stops you've been able to be such a professional and have such a great reputation, and that has all preceded you, because had you not had that reputation, you may not have been an assistant at Wichita State, and you definitely probably don't get this opportunity. So you've been preparing as a professional for so long and doing things right. What advice would you have for young guys or anybody in this profession, because it is a challenging profession?
I would just say enjoy it, be loyal. Wherever you at, plant your feet. Don't always try to hop around. Do good at the program you're at. Have fun, enjoy it, and good things will happen with hard work. Just be loyal to anybody you're working with and play as a team. Be a good assistant to the head coach and do your job, and good things will happen.
Yep, absolutely. So now you talked about fun. We'll let you go here in a minute, Coach. You talked about fun. So it doesn't have to be funny, but you got to give us a career, something in your career where like this was a fun moment where I can remember looking back. I know you told us the good recruiting story, but anything else fun, funny, humorous, whether it's another coach, whether it's a family member that came to a game and they made a sign that was funny. Give us something, because I know you had some fun during this thing, Coach. You've definitely had a lot of success.
Yeah, I can't think of anything just funny off the top of my head. I would just say getting to the NCAA tournament,
Right.
As a college coach, that was the best experience of my life just to get there. So I would say that's the biggest achievement for me, getting to the NCAA tournament. So that's something that all college coaches strive to do, get
Right.
to the NCAA tournament. So that's the best experience for me as a coach.
Absolutely. Now, did you dance, Coach, when you got in? Did you do the Jimmy V and run around?
Without a doubt, I did all of it.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, Coach, we'll let you go, man. I know you've been awesome, so gracious to come on. We appreciate the time. I'll let Kevin have any last ones, and then I would just say, Coach, so I know you probably already know this, you just being you, but you've inspired a lot of people, Coach. I think March Madness in college basketball is a lot about the underdog. It's a lot about the kind of the story that's unexpected for that person to be successful, that team. And you just embodied that so much for so many people. It's not so much about race, black, white, whatever. I think you've inspired the whole basketball world, and we salute you. We appreciate what you're doing, how you're doing it with class. You don't have to say it, but your players and your program says it, how they celebrate you and how they back you. That's what it's about. So any advice you have just for anybody who's kind of up against the odds or up against the numbers and just, because again, your story is very inspirational. It's easy for you because you're being you, but the people on the outside have been very moved by your story.
I would just say be loyal, man. Like I said, plant your feet in whatever job you have. Just continue to do your best at that job. Enjoy it. Be loyal. Be excited about where you're at, and just keep developing the young men on your team and do a great job, and good things will happen for you.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach. Well, thanks so much, Coach Brown. We extremely, extremely appreciate it. We'll let you have any last words you have. Best of luck the rest of the way. We hope we will see you. We plan on seeing you running around like Jimmy V after you guys get into the tournament here in a week and a half or so. We'll be celebrating with you, man. But any last words you have, and then we'll let you go.
Thank you guys for having me. I think you guys do a great job. Your show is one of the better ones online. I really enjoy listening to you guys. You guys ask all the fun questions, but thanks for having me again, man. And then good luck with your show.
Yep. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Go Shockers.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, Coach. Yeah, awesome. I can't say enough. I'm sure you probably have a lot to say. We'll break this one down, but what a story. And for him to take the time, I can't say enough, man. It's a big time thing. I think he's moved a lot of people. Their program has, their players have. We didn't get into a lot of the stats and the analytics and all the numbers of everything, but I think anybody who's seen Wichita State this year knows how good they are, and they weren't necessarily projected to be that. So a lot of that has to do with the culture and what they've done. So I'll let Kevin kind of give his breakdown.
Yeah, man, I have him like right on the wrong side of the cut line right now, unfortunately for those. So it's everyone built bracketology, but you would love to see them find a way in. And I think, I can't speak to it. I'm not a coach, but I just think like it has to inspire and give hope to so many dudes out there who are grinding. And there's not a clear shot for that head coach. There's so many guys, and I could list them off. We've talked about it on the show in the past. That they just get the right break at the right time. and it turns into something incredible. And to see the success that he has had, taking his opportunity and really seizing on it has been really fun for me to watch. It's been really one of the great stories of the college basketball season, and I'm thrilled to watch his team the rest of the way. And it'd be quite the story if they can find a way in the conference tournament. So we'll be locked in, and he's done a terrific job and earned every second of this. And hopefully he gets the one last story moment with the trip to March Madness.
Yeah, I believe so. I'm gonna speak it into existence. You are a new bracketologist, so we'll talk about the NCAA tournament a little bit. We got a little time before our next guest. What is it that this Wichita State team has done that warrants them to get in, and what are they missing that maybe they haven't done yet to maybe be able to get in?
I think the challenge for a team like Wichita right now, quite frankly, is just the AAC is a solid league, but you just don't get a ton of opportunities for the wins that the committee wants to see, right? Like the quadrant 1 games, Wichita State just hasn't played that many of them, and that hurts them in that regard. They have the huge win over Houston that will carry them, as far as it possibly can, and Houston's continued success and likely top 2 seed in the NCAA tournament will help them a lot. But right now, their best selling point on their resume is they have no bad losses. They have 4 losses, 3 of them to NCAA tournament locks in Mizzou, Oklahoma State, and Houston. 1 loss to Memphis on the road, who is a very good team. That's a quadrant 1 loss. So they have no bad losses. They're net and they're Ken Pom. They're decent. They're not great. But yeah, they're one big time win away. And the funny thing is, the best opportunity for that really truly big time win would be beating Houston again. If they beat Houston again, they're probably going to win the conference tournament and not have to worry about it anyway. But they've been a little bit unfortunate, honestly, with COVID issues on opponents. They before they played Tulane on Wednesday, they hadn't played in almost 2 weeks, and a big part, big opportunity. They were supposed to play SMU like 3 or 4 times. It was scheduled and rescheduled because of COVID. And SMU is a quality team, and that was an opportunity for them to move the needle. The good thing is that the rest of the bowl kind of keeps moving off around them. So they've really creeped up without doing anything the last 2 weeks with other teams playing their way out of contention. So this is a good group. They're really solid all around. Their resume is fine. It doesn't pop like crazy in any way, but sometimes that's a good thing. You don't want your resume in some cases to have an outlier on it. So in some regards, they're in good shape. They just need to finish strong and see where the chips fall. But if they can't win the conference tournament, they'll be sweating on Selection Sunday. But they're in the mix for sure.
Yeah, and I would think hopefully the championship in that league, even though it's not what it has been, I hope that Houston being there and that being such a high level win, I hope that they're showing in the tournament, whatever they do or don't do, that they find a way to get them in the tournament. Because
right, and if they beat South Florida on Saturday, they're going to win the regular season title in a top 7, I guess, league in the country, top 7, top 8 league in the country. They're going to have an elite win, no bad losses, and only 5 total losses on the season, or 4 total losses. 5 total if you add a conference tournament loss of some kind, so 5 total losses. Like when you compare that to the rest of the bubble, like that's going to look pretty good.
Right.
So I think at the end of the day, I'm hopeful. Again, part of it is just what does everybody else do? So they're my 3rd team out right now. The 2 teams that I have ahead of them, let me just pull my handy spreadsheets here. This is my life too often right now, is these two big spreadsheets that I got.
So real quick too, before you keep going, I'm gonna let you take it and talk bracketology. We're gonna give you an isolation bracketology for 10 minutes.
You got to fire at me. You got to give me some questions, man.
No, I'm gonna give you 5 minutes ISO. I got to step out real quick, but I want you to take the bracketology, and I'm gonna jump back and ask questions.
Oh dear. So I got a first update. Wichita State. They're actually my 2nd team out for tomorrow. This is breaking news, by the way, folks. Bracketology comes out tomorrow on SportsIllustrated.com. We'll have Wichita State as the number 2 team out of the field. So if you're a Wichita State fan, you're rooting against Duke, number 1. You're rooting for Drake to lose in its conference tournament. You're rooting for Boise State to lose early in its conference tournament. You're rooting for St. Louis not to get the auto bid from the A-10. You're rooting for Utah State not to get the auto bid from the Mountain West. Those are the things I would point out as like key things for Wichita State fans to be looking out for. But look, the bubble is what the bubble is, and there are some situations where you think a team is in, and all of a sudden they do something to play themselves onto the cut line again. Boise State, for instance, is an interesting example of this. Boise State was all but a lock a week and a half ago when they swept Utah State at home. Then they got swept at San Diego State. That was not surprising necessarily. They were still in fine shape. And then, of course, they lost at home to Fresno State in a game, I might add, that Fresno State game was only added to the schedule in the first place because the Mountain West needed to fulfill its TV deal. That game was canceled originally due to COVID. They're like, all right, we're going to add this extra game against Fresno to make up the TV money. Unfortunately, Boise State lost to Fresno and hurt themselves pretty significantly. Same thing, Drake over the weekend, last weekend, lost to Bradley, which trimmed their margin of error significantly in the conference tournament. You've had, Seton Hall has struggled of late. Michigan State played its way back into the field after being dead in the water for 6 weeks.
Right.
While Indiana and Minnesota have no interest in winning a single game the rest of the year. So they're rapidly falling off. I mean, it's really enough to pull your hair out as a guy who has to keep track of this and all these little spreadsheets. But it's been a lot of fun and a big part of what makes this thing interesting and fun to predict down the stretch. But again, things can change rapidly because of random results you wouldn't think, right? Like, for instance, there are some leagues like, it would probably be in the best interest of every other bubble team for Drake to lose in the conference tournament, Loyola to win the conference tournament, and make sure there's no bid stealer. But there's a small chance that if Loyola and Drake both lost the Missouri Valley tournament and someone else won it, then you've got potentially 3 bids from the Valley, and you might have stolen 1 to 2 bids from the rest of the field. I mean, it's complete chaos, complete mayhem. It's what you love about March. You just got to be really locked in at all times to what's going on. And I try to be, but sometimes someone calls you for an hour and you chat with them, and all of a sudden you look up and chaos has happened. So it's that time of year.
Yeah, we can do a quick before we kind of do the rest of the bracketology. Let's just talk coast to coast. We have some conferences that are over. We have some conferences that are still playing. Conference tournaments are going. We haven't really done this in a little while before our next guest comes on. We got a little bit of time to kind of go coast to coast and kind of recognize. So let's talk first about some of the conferences that are done playing, that are starting their tournaments, that have already awarded, whether it's conference champion, they've already acknowledged that, and then we'll go to some of those that aren't. I know Horizon League had a tied champion with Dennis Gates and Cleveland State, along with Wright State. They co-champed it. I believe the MEAC has 2 sides. This 2-side thing is a new thing, right? So we got Norfolk State on one side, along with Coppin State, if I'm not mistaken. And then we have Coach Will Jones in North Carolina A&T on the other side. So 3 champions in the MEAC for each respective side, a tied champion. So their tournament is coming next week. And then I'm trying to think, Liberty won a conference championship.
Yeah.
They actually played tonight, if they're not already done.
They already played. They beat Kennesaw. It was tied at half, and Liberty pulled away in the second, won that game. So move on to semifinals, and then the championship game, I believe, is on Sunday. I mean, essentially, you map it out the week. You've got the Ohio Valley always punches the first NCAA tournament bid. That will be Saturday night, and that is always kind of a fun game. It's usually like in Evansville or Nashville. This year it's in Evansville. They pack that gym. It's like Belmont, and usually it'd be like Belmont and Murray State. Murray State's a little bit down this year, but maybe they'll make a push. You got some good teams. EKU, A.W. Hamilton's done a tremendous job. Preston Spradlin as well.
Coach of the year.
So he's done a tremendous job as well. So it's always a balanced league, and that's a conference tournament championship game that somehow is always close. I will add that.
Coach of the year, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, sir. But no matter who is involved in that game, whether they're undefeated Murray State or at-large bid Belmont, whatever it's been, that game is always close. That game is always just a fun celebration of basketball. Usually a great crowd. Obviously, some limits this year with COVID, but I know that they're going to have some fans in the building. So, look, watching a conference championship game, I'm sure it's stress inducing for those on the other side of the business, but as a guy who just loves ball, like there's nothing better. There really is nothing better. The intensity, the passion, and you can feel it. You can feel it through your phone. You can feel it through the TV, even when there's nobody in the gym, right? Like that. Like we're gonna talk later about these 2 Horizon League games from the other night, the Cleveland State game with triple overtime and the Milwaukee 24-point comeback. You can feel. I'm watching it on my phone. I can literally my heart is racing, and I gotta say I truly have no rooting interest whether Cleveland State or Fort Wayne was going to advance in the Horizon League quarterfinals. Like it's just what basketball does, and it's this unique thing that I think March Madness does that other sports can't quite capture, and it's just the energy of it is second to none, and it's why we love this time of year, man.
Yeah. So Selection Sunday is the 14th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir.
So let's talk about the days leading up to that. I know our great friends at Heat Check CBB did a phenomenal job with the grid and the color coding. So I'll let you jump into that and take over for a little bit, and I'm going to get our next guest ready to rock and roll.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'll just kind of walk you through what you're ready to get. So, starting basically today, it is constant conference tournament action every day until we're done. So, the A10 is this weekend all the way up to the championship game. The championship game is the following weekend at Dayton. Tell you what, folks, if you want to watch some real good basketball, the Atlantic 10 conference tournament is so tight. Like today, 4 quarterfinal or 4 second round games, and they were all tight. Davidson, or except UMass. UMass beat St. Joe's by 35, but these are just tight games up and down. And you get Duquesne St. Bonaventure tomorrow, 1 versus 8 or 1 versus 9, excuse me. But Duquesne's a top 125 team in KenPom. They have great size, great athleticism, a really solid point guard, and Tavian Dunmartin who can really shoot the ball. Like that game is like a 4 to 5 point game. That is not a quarterfinal that you traditionally think of. I think the A10 tournament and the Missouri Valley tournament are 2 that always come to mind with this. And the Missouri Valley is also this weekend, where the 1-8 and the 2-7, that is not a pushover game. That is not anywhere close to that's not a 20-point favorite. That's not a 15-point favorite. That is a grinder, and those are gonna be fun. I mean, same thing. 2-7 tomorrow. You're gonna have VCU Dayton. How about that? VCU Dayton, 2 terrific programs, 2 rivals are gonna play. Again, a game that's probably a 4 to 5 point game, like really tight. It's just gonna be really good basketball. Encourage all of you who are college basketball junkies like myself to lock in. I will be doing less work than I should be throughout the day because I will be busy watching, Duquesne versus St. Bonaventure at 11 a.m. And I hope that all of you do the same. Missouri Valley tournament this weekend as well. I mentioned that one from the perspective of the at-large mix. This is important. Obviously, Loyola Chicago is probably a lock to get in the NCAA tournament. They're the number 1 seed. They won the league. Drake, we've had several coaches from Drake on the program this year, including Coach Darren DeVries, who is very generous with his time. And Coach DeVries is someone that has just put his team in an incredible position to be an at-large caliber team despite injuries to Tank Hemphill, their star wing, and Roman Penn, their best point guard, one of the best point guards in the mid-major landscape. So that league tournament will be fun. Those 2 teams could have a collision course for a 3rd game, but you also have Missouri State is a grinder of a team. They have a great big engaged Prim. They have a great guard in Isaiah Mosley. You also have to watch Indiana State. Indiana State's been feisty this year. They've won big late this season. Unfortunately, Greg Lansing likely in his final year at the helm of that program. Jeff Gibbon is reporting that he's likely done after this season. But this is a talented group with Tyreek Key and Jake LaRavia and some of the other guys they could trot out there. Like this is certainly not a pushover team, and they're the 4 seeds. So Missouri Valley tournament, always electric, and would encourage you to check that out. Conference championship games this weekend. Yeah, I mentioned already Ohio Valley, Missouri Valley will happen this weekend. You have the Big South. They're playing their semifinals as we speak. So I certainly would never encourage you to turn off my beautiful voice. But if you are planning on doing so, I would encourage you to hop over to some Atlantic Sun and Big South semifinal action. Believe I'd seen earlier that Radford was on the ropes against Campbell Let me check that score, give you guys a live update. But Campbell's going to win that game, and then Winthrop, the clear favorite in that league, is the number one seed and is only one loss all season long. They will play later on this evening, and that is a very good Winthrop team that will be a favorite no matter what if they get to the championship game. But this Campbell team, coached by Kevin McGee, seems to do a terrific job and trending in the right direction. So that's a Sunday morning conference tournament game. Same with Liberty and the A-Sun. They move on to the quarterfinals tomorrow, or the semifinals, tomorrow. We'll see how they handle that, and then a day off before the championship game there. So you'll punch 4 bids by the end of the day Sunday. Then you get Monday 2 more with the SoCon championship game. That is always a very electric tournament. Talk about a balanced league. We've talked to several coaches from there. Andre Gray from UC Greensboro, who won the league this year. But Furman is a very deep, very well-coached group. That they will be very tough. It's just a balanced league, top to bottom. You mentioned Wofford. Jay McCauley's done a really nice job this season. Lamont Paris at Chattanooga has them 18-7. ETSU Jason Shea, year 1, has done a nice job. Like this. Every team has 5 or more losses in this league. And I think that says everything about the balance there. So that is a tournament that will finish up Monday evening. Would encourage you to check that out. Again, shout out to Heat Check for their handy guide, which is helping me push through. You also have the Sun Belt championship all weekend long with the championship on Monday. And again, I don't want to keep saying balance, but there is not a league that has had more parity in my mind all season long than the Sun Belt. Texas State, we mentioned TJ Johnson deserves an opportunity to get that head job after job he's done as an interim, and I'm confident and hopeful that he will get that job. But he's made a case. They win the regular season championship. But you got Georgia State. They beat Georgia Tech, their NCAA tournament team. They just swept Richie Riley's South Alabama club. South Alabama will be dangerous as well with Michael Flowers as star point guard. Coastal Carolina has played well lately with our friend Cliff Ellis at the helm and won 3 in a row to close the year. Great point guard in Devontae Jones. A league that is deep, athletic, talented. There's guards on every team. Every team has a guard that you could think of and be like, man, that guy is a dog, right? You think up and down. People don't give enough credit to Mason Harrell at Texas State. He's had an incredible season and probably deserved more love for Player of the Year in the conference than he is getting right now. He's done an incredible job. And, Hade Wells at UT Arlington was getting very, big time love early in the season. If you think about what he did against Oklahoma State in the season opener against Cade Cunningham, really was the best player on the floor. So that to look forward to Monday night, Sunbelt and SoCon. Missing the MAC in that slot. MAC used to play that Monday night, usually on ESPN2. Unfortunately, the MAC had to move theirs back because of where their event is being played. But we'll see the MAC the following weekend. No worries there. Tuesday, championship game. CAA, Horizon League, NEC, Summit League, and the WCC. Obviously, WCC probably going to be Gonzaga. I'm not gonna have any hot takes on that. I'm just going to say that. But I think when you think about a league's that conference tournament will be unpredictable, you really think about the CAA. And it's because of all of the issues that the league has had. That no league played a smaller percentage of their games that were originally scheduled than the CAA because of COVID issues. James Madison, the best team in the league this season under Mark Byington, who's done a terrific job. Their star player and likely conference player of the year, Matt Lewis, is out for the tournament and out moving forward because of a knee injury. So that opens the door, quite frankly, even more than it already was. But okay, you got your number 2 team, Northeastern. Maybe they're the favorite. Bill Cohen doing a great job. Well, great, but they've only played once. They've had 3 games since January 24th. They went on COVID pause in late January. They came back. They played a weekend series against Towson that they split. They played a bye game against North Carolina. They came back. They had a COVID issue, and they haven't played since. So they're coming off a pause. That's going to be a challenge. Hofstra, coming off a pause, has not played since February 14th. College of Charleston played a bunch in February, so that's in their favor. They had a COVID pause in January. They've been pretty up and down this season. They have some really good guards like Zep Jasper, Peyton Willis, and Brendan Tucker, but it's still a team that I don't think is necessarily a world beater by any means. Delaware Delaware has not played since January 31st due to COVID. They'll be back. Drexel, a team that started to play better. They played one game coming off 3 weeks without a game. They played James Madison on the 26th. They won that game. They have a great backcourt led by Cameron Winter. So again, this is a league that, like, man, it is so balanced and really, really hard to predict who will come away with that championship. Then you get the lull. You get the 3-day lull where there are no conference championship games. But it doesn't really matter because once you get into those weekend of conference tournaments, you're really looking more at the high major tournaments. And there are certainly some mid-major ones to watch, the MAC, the America East. But you get really championship Saturday the 13th, which is arguably, in my opinion, the best day of the year in college basketball. I know everybody talks about Thursday, March Madness, or this year in case, I guess this case, the Friday, March Madness. But that's Saturday with 15 conference championships back to back, the intensity, the energy, the mid-major games, the America East playing at like 10 a.m., which is always truly fantastic. I mean, it was one of a kind, and you got a lot of bids to cash in, and it is really quite an experience watching all those games. One tournament that I will add from that weekend that I'm very much looking forward to is the MAC Single A tournament, the Mid-American Conference tournament, because I just think of the Mid-American as the most underrated league in all of college basketball. Mid-American has 3 top 100 KenPom teams, 3 more teams that are from 100 to 120, then 2 more teams that are in the top 140. So you have 8 top 140 KenPom teams in one league. They've all beaten up on each other at times this season. The balance is so impressive. And you've got a Toledo team that, really pushed Xavier early in the season, lost that game by 3 points, really probably should have won it. They got blown up by Michigan, but who didn't get blown up by Michigan, quite frankly? And it's a very good Toledo team with a terrific backcourt. Marion Jackson, their point guard, Ryan Rollins, the freshman, has been terrific. And they added, 2 transfers that have made a big difference. Seth Milner, JUCO kid from Northwest Florida, who's been really productive for them, double-figure guy, and then JT Shoemate, who came in from Division II Walsh and has been a really big offensive X factor for them. Can stretch the floor, is uber efficient, passes the ball, can block shots as well for you. I mean, has been a really a big-time player. And I think, will be a guy that people might want to know come March. Buffalo has been balanced. They've started to play much better basketball. Buffalo has won 7 of 8 coming out of pipe here. Just beat Akron, very good Akron team, led by Javon Graves. Javon Graves had a triple-double in that ball game. Again, very impressive group, Buffalo. Jim Whitesell is kind of getting it rolling again. So this is balanced league. People also don't talk about Danny Pippen at Kent State. Kent has been up and down this year, but nearly beat Virginia early in the year. Pippen was so impressive in that game. He just is a guy who stuffs the stat sheet. He blocks shots, he makes threes, he gets steals, he gets out on the glass. He's a high usage offensive scorer. I mean, this is the type of balance that nobody realizes. So I think he's another guy that you want to talk about major guys that deserve a little bit of love. He's a guy. So I mean, this is a conference tournament that is always energetic, always a lot of fun. Mike Huger at Bowling Green has a good group. They'll be impressive. The guy, they've been maybe a little bit disappointing, quite frankly, this year. They had a big rut where they started 6-1 in the league, and they fell off. They lost 6 in a row. The type of adversity you really don't see, quite frankly, for a team that was picked as highly as they were, and they've bounced back really well. They've won 5 of 6 to close the year. Their only loss in that stretch was an overtime loss to Miami of Ohio. So this is a big time Bowling Green team, and would not be surprised to see them come and take this conference championship. So again, we're I had a terrific interview earlier with Isaac Brown, the fantastic head coach of Wichita State. Love being able to say head coach. Let's say interim. It's big time.
What was your I don't know, I guess what's your perspective on this journey from, we can talk about it now, of course, but, coach getting let go when he did, Isaac Brown becoming interim. Even early on, we talked about the AAC. They weren't in the conversation early. It was kind of SMU. Thought Memphis could maybe make a push, possibly. Maybe there was another, Wichita State was maybe that dark horse of those. But it wasn't like they were the favorite to challenge for the conference championship, let alone win it. So what's this ride been like in your viewpoint of kind of seeing it all unfold?
Yeah, I mean, I just think one of the things is as a guy who tries to cover all 350 whatever there are now teams in Division I, like and tries to do it justice. Like you can't watch every game, so you wind up going through stretches where you haven't watched the team in a while, and you're tracking them, and you see them just keep adding wins. Oh yeah, Wichita State's been stuck on 2 losses for a while. Interesting. Like, and Wichita State was one of those teams where I looked up and I was like, wow, look at that.
They're legit.
I didn't realize that Wichita State was 8-3, 4-1 in the league, and really feeling themselves a little bit. And like it's just one of those things where you put teams in boxes, and I personally try to be pretty organized and have at least like a semi-formal list of, okay, I need to make sure I'm watching this team. Oh, this is the team I got to get to. This is the group I got to get to. Like, and so some teams slip through the cracks. Like honestly, Wichita State was not on the list in preseason, and they were not on the list on December 15th, but they wound up there, and again they've continued to impress. And you kept saying, okay, well once they play Houston, Houston will beat them, and then they'll go back to being second or third and be a nice story and whatever. And that's not what happened. They went to beat Houston, and really, that was the game that sealed the deal for me as a guy who didn't know a lot about Isaac Brown. Like I think I thought he deserves a job regardless, just being 8-12-4, 8-2. But like, come on now, you beat a top 10 team in your gym. It had to be done.
Yeah, I think that was probably the game for everybody, to be honest. I think that was the game for them because really that helped them solidify the fact they would be conference champions. And it's like, what else do you do? And I think, Jeff Gutman, Rob Dosser had this conversation on their pod and their show, but they talked about the fact that, Ohio State head coach went through the same thing. Wisconsin coach went through the same thing before they were head coaches. They kind of had that interim, are these guys going to be named coach or not? And then next thing you know, they didn't give them a choice. And I think that's been the cool part to see because, again, it was not like Wichita State was a favorite to do this. And they've really just kind of slowly gained steam. And then you look back, like you said, and you look at their losses, and it's like, wait a minute, they lost to a good team. Wait a minute, they lost to another good team. And then you start looking at their wins, and they start getting some steam. And next thing you know, when they beat Houston, it was kind of that signature win. Every team needs kind of that signature win to be able to say, okay, this team is legit. And that was it for them. They beat them. And with Houston, we know there's never a time when you beat Houston and that's an easy win, ever. In any circumstance.
Even if Houston plays poorly, just watching Houston makes me tired. Like, they just wear you down, man. Like, it's unbelievable. And I will say this. I think one of the most impressive things about Wichita State, 8 of their wins are by 5 or fewer points. Right? And, like, yes, there's a little bit of luck involved in winning close games. But, to have, especially in a year like this, to have the buy-in and the belief and the understanding of believing you're going to win those games, but also the execution and the understanding of like what you need to do to win those games, I think says a lot about what Isaac Brown has done in a short amount of time with those dudes. And it's why they're in a position to potentially make the NCAA tournament, getting closer and closer by the day to the cut line. Just got to keep
They're getting in. They're getting in. I'm willing into existence. The Cinderella story continues. They are getting in. It has to happen. The committee has to make it happen no matter what. It has to happen no matter what.
I hope so. I
think the part 2 is cool to think of, hiring a guy, a veteran coach that's won as much as he has, former Texas A&M head coach Billy Kennedy, to bring him along too for this ride. I mean, talk about some wisdom. You just got like Yoda sitting over there in practice and in games, and every day you get to talk to him with their relationship. again, just one of those cool stories of college basketball. I think it's been the story of college basketball this season.
Well, and I think, and again, like I don't want to, psychoanalyze dudes, but like there's a lot of dudes that would have been, I'm doing it my way. I got my job. Like I'm going to do it. And like he said, who's going to help me? Who's going to help my program? Like help my players? A guy who's been around the block a whole bunch of times. Billy Kennedy has been around the block a whole bunch of times, and just has been a perfect addition to that staff and a huge part of what they've been able to do.
And I think credit to Wichita State for even if you didn't want him to have a chance to get the job, you don't let him hire who he wants. And you see it happen so many times. Either they don't get to hire who they want or they don't get to hire at all. And it's like, hey.
Yeah, it would not have been hard for Wichita State to be like, all right, just like elevate your Dobo for the year.
Right. And plenty of places have done that.
And make the video coordinator, help out with the meals, and we'll be good. Yeah.
We're gonna save that money.
It's pandemic, man. It's pandemic.
Right.
The pandemic budget excuse only happens when you don't want to spend money on it.
Every built-in excuse you want to have, they have, and they let him hire his guy. He did, and incredible to just be able to see what's been done. And to Texas State's credit, they did a very similar thing with Terrence Johnson. And I don't care if people are tired of hearing us talk about it. I don't care. When you can be an interim coach and win a championship in any league, that's an incredible accomplishment. Yeah. Being an interim coach is probably maybe arguably the hardest time to be a head coach, period, especially when these guys are inheriting it from being an assistant and at the last minute. It's not like they were named last year they were going to be interim and they had a whole offseason. They basically just, happened after school started, essentially, or right before.
Right. I think didn't Isaac get the job like a week before the season started? And I think that was one of the main.
I'm saying that's one of the main reasons what makes it so crazy what they've done.
And it was one of the main reasons why I wasn't willing to really believe that Wichita could be good. I didn't have any expectation. It was like I didn't expect that good with Greg Marshall, and then all of a sudden it was like a complete unknown.
Right, and he snuck it in there, and as quiet as it's kept. But there's 7 new guys. They had a lot of guys leave. They had a mass exodus, more or less, last year. And did an incredible job bringing in talent. Obviously, we see it and bringing back talent. And they got the right pieces. And, just a perfect storm for Wichita State and Isaac Brown to be able to be the person that he is after the person that was. I mean, even in that, again, entire interview, you can just feel like you don't get a more genuine person than that guy, I mean, so to be able to have this, just a Cinderella story, I think is going to end in them going to the tournament. It's got to happen. It's going to happen. I'm calling it here. What's today? March 4th. I'm calling it 6:15 Mountain Time, 7:15 Central. It's going down.
I love it.
So next up, we got our guest is not here yet, but we will just kind of
let's give the viewers the backstory on our guest.
While you give the backstory, I'm going to see if I can pull it up, see if I'm any good at my job. I do have a baby now, so it just kind of takes away from time to play with random gadgets like pulling up the video. But I'm going to search for the video because it's worth watching. But I'll let you tell that story.
Yeah, I mean, look, March is full of comebacks. Comebacks are a huge part of this whole thing. But there has literally not been a bigger comeback in the history of KenPom than this one. It matched the largest comeback in the history of KenPom when Milwaukee was down 24 points with 6 minutes and I believe 18 seconds to go. KenPom actually gave them a 0.0% chance to win the game. A 0.0% chance to win the game at one point. Now, it was technically 0.03, but their decimal didn't go that far. 0.0 at, let's see here. It was a 24-point game with 6 minutes left. The score was actually 69-45.
All right, I think I got it. Let's see if I'm any good.
Let's see what we got.
See if he's any good, people. Let's see if he's any good. Let's see what we got.
Oh, boy.
Boom.
6 for 20. But they just haven't gotten any scoring inside whatsoever. I mean, none whatsoever.
So quick pause. So we saw the score. Let's go back. 7 minutes left in the game. 7:19. Okay, 69-48. It's ugly, and they're on the road. And then we hit play.
For Milwaukee was to make a lot of threes. I felt like they had to make at least 10. They're 6 for 20, but they just haven't gotten any scoring inside whatsoever. I mean, none whatsoever.
Now Lucas taking the ball in strong. His layup is good. Cross-court pass stolen by Lucas. Going in on Hubricks. He'll take it in and lay it in. He's got the ball pushed ahead to Lucas. Lucas drops the pass down to Thomas with a dunk. Lucas, long 3-ball. Thomas leans in. His layup is good. It's just a 10-point game with 2:40 to play. Trying to get away from Finke. Pulls up. Mid-range jumper is good at the 3. Here's Lucas. He fires it over. Golston, 3. Got it! Milwaukee has tied the game. Rebound. Golston scores. Golston takes the 3. Now he moves over behind the stripe and knocks it down. Cannot even hit the backboard. And the Milwaukee Panthers, an unbelievable comeback. And they will continue on into the semifinals of the Horizon League tournament.
McKee for Milwaukee.
So
Gotta love it.
So I don't know if you, as a coach, have like a benchmark, but I know as like a guy who just watched a lot of college basketball, the number is always like if you could be within 10 at the U4, you got a shot. you could just it's not a big shot, but you got some kind of shot. And I don't think they were within 10 at the U4. I really don't.
I don't think it was close.
That is the crazy thing, right? It's like it'd be one thing if it was like 22 with 6.5 minutes left and they went on an immediate 12-0 run to get to, the 10 with 4 minutes to go and then they kind of chipped away. They did all the work late. They did all the work at the very end, procrastinated on their homework, if you will. And they found a way. That is all that matters. And it was just it was a wild night in the Horizon League. You had that game. You had a buzzer beater in the Northern Kentucky Detroit game.
Yep.
That was a pretty fun finish.
A couple tip-ins, and they got a tip in at the last minute.
Yep, like 4 tips at it. Finally got it in there. Then you had Cleveland State and our buddy Dennis Gates against Fort Wayne. And this game went to triple overtime. It only went to the third overtime because there was a banked-in 3 by a guy who hadn't attempted a 3 in 2 months. I mean, come on. I was all on the fields of March, man. I was literally in like heaven, just running around, loving life, like literally yelling at my computer about Cleveland State Fort Wayne at like 9:00 at night on Tuesday. And hey, if that makes me a nerd, that makes me a nerd. But
I think there's a lot of things that make you a nerd, but that probably just confirms it. Let's talk about the Milwaukee thing when you first saw it before we bring head coach Pat Baldwin in to talk about the game, talk about his team, talk about his season. And if you go back, and I don't know if you even saw this, Kevin, but I actually got to watch the end of their last game of the season where their point guard hits the game winner. Lucas hits the game winner kind of on a fall away, random shot there. So that put him in the seating to be able to play the game that they played and then to be able to have that Ken Palm historic comeback. What was your reaction before we bring him on?
An even more incredible thing about this. They now have the number 1 and the number 2 Ken Palm comeback of the season because they beat Cleveland State earlier this year in Cleveland when they had a 0.1% win probability late in the ball game. They came back, they went to overtime, they won the game. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's in the water up there, but these dudes have a special belief, and they got 2 dudes. They got DeAndre Golston and Tajon Lucas, who are big time players, and that's why they're alive. And they get Cleveland State again, so they get another crack at them. They split them in the season series.
Yep,
so they can keep the magic rolling.
Yep, love it. Yeah, so Coach Baldwin is a first-class dude, awesome guy, good player himself back in the day. Maybe he has some comeback stories to tell us.
Big Northwestern guy.
He was a Northwestern guy, so Kevin's even more excited about that. If anybody who doesn't know Kevin knows why he'd be excited. So excited to have Coach Baldwin on, man. One of the first-class, just best dudes, man. You don't find many times that Coach Baldwin doesn't have a smile, except maybe after a certain outcome of a game. But great recruiter, great basketball coach. And I think he's got a pretty good player in his household. We'll talk about too. So we're going to bring on Coach Pat Baldwin Can't wait to have him on and learn about the comeback kids. Let's get his little nameplate up here, get going. Coach, what up, man?
Nothing much. What's going on, guys?
Great to have you, man. We had to get the whole layout. We showed the video, the comeback, everything. So let's just talk about how crazy has this been to be a part of a comeback like that. Because there's a point in time, and as a coach, you're just like, all right, we don't want to concede and say we're going to lose, but we just want to figure out how to make this more competitive before this thing is over. We can't quit. But never do we ever think, usually down 21 or 20 points, that we're going to be able to come back in that short amount of time. So take us back to that magical ride and that victory.
Well, I'll tell you, from the time that we were down 24, we were, as coaching staff and talking to our players, we were begging and pleading with them to continue to play, continue to fight, and we were getting obliterated. Their inside presence of Basile and Love, we had no answers. We had played them 2 previous times, and we tried to double them, and they were hitting threes on us. So we had to come up with a different game plan. And what we thought was, twos won't beat you as much as threes will if we allow them to make threes off of doubles, and we didn't rotate very well. So we decided to. I don't know who came up with that game plan, but not to double. And, Basile had 35 in the game, so he was killing us, and Love was doing what he was doing. He's player of the year in our conference, but we got down 24, and we tried to give our guys milestones. Hey, let's get to 16. Even before half, I said, you know what? We are +1 in this half. We were down like 18 or something like that at a half, and we cut it to 17. I'll say, hey, we're +1. All right, so we were just trying to give them just some motivation, some motivating things to keep going, keep fighting, and just give it to our captains, our leaders. They were just in the huddle, just talking about, hey, we're down to 12, we're at 8 now. Let's keep on going. So it was great to have them, buying in as well and keep on fighting.
Yeah, no doubt. And it sounds like from what I understand, you had a comeback earlier this year that you probably could draw from to get some confidence. At what point in the Wright State game did you feel like we got a chance to actually win this thing? At what point was that?
Our guys at 12 points said that, hey, we're only down 12. Let's cut this thing to 6 by a certain time. I can't remember the exact time. And then when we cut it to 6, I said, you know what, we're putting some real game pressure on them, and felt like, all right, if things, went our way, we had an opportunity. And then when it got to 3 with about, I think it was 8 seconds on the clock, Wright State had called a timeout, and I believe they did. And I was thinking they called a timeout to set up, hey, let's foul in this situation. And, at that point, when the ball left Tijon's hand and he was double teamed and DeAndre was open, I said, right there, we have a chance to get this thing to overtime. So that was probably the only moment, because Wright State, as you guys know, are really good, well coached, and they had veteran guys, so they don't make a ton of mistakes.
I think they've won the league 3 years in a row, right, Coach?
Yeah, they were right there. Yeah, and so for us to be in that position, it was a godsend.
Yeah, awesome. What do you think? So what's is it? Is it Space Jam? Is it the juice that you're giving in timeouts that they use in the Space Jam? Is that what it is that you're able to use? Because this comeback, you got number 1 and number 2, as Kevin said. There's something in that motivation, or you got to sell the new motivational video behind the scenes in the huddle that's going on for these comebacks, Coach. What is it?
Yeah, we had that special water in the huddle. The thing about it, when we were cutting the lead down, a lot of the guys were referencing, we've done this before, we've been here before. So that just gave them encouragement, and we were just supporting them. And the thing that I wanted to do was give them a play call and get out of the way and just let them just go. And then kind of the unsung hero of our whole comeback was our press, and the amount of pressure we were able to put in the full court and get them to turn the ball over, use some timeouts that they would have needed late in the game. And we've been doing a great job when we've gone to the press. Now my guys think we can press the entire game, and I said we're not built for that.
So what does the 24 hours look like after that game? I don't know what was going on in the locker room, but I assume it was pretty fun that night. But what does the next day look like? How did you get your team back in focus of like, all right, we're still going, man. We got to have a good practice the next day.
Yeah, first of all, after the game, our 9 hours were on the bus. So so that's what that looked like. We were on the bus. I was watching film of the game and then finding out who we played next and trying to get my mind focused on Cleveland State. And then the 24 hours after that was setting our schedule up, talking about our practice, what we need to focus on, refocusing our guys on Cleveland State in the task at hand. And we know that we have a very formidable opponent in front of us that's very good. They didn't win, they won the league for a reason because they're good and they have depth and they have talent. And so we had to refocus them. But our guys also understand that Cleveland State is no joke. They have toughness. They have guys that can make plays, and they have a really good coach that prepares them extremely well. So it didn't take me long to refocus them because our guys had a really good practice. They were energized. They were committed to what we're doing. They understand our game plan and what we're trying to do. And we have a veteran group of guys as well that can help our young guys understand what this time of the year is all about.
And obviously, DeAndre Golston had a massive game, hit the big shots, sent it to overtime. What did adding him to your program this season mean? He's been such a big time scorer for you guys. What has he brought to the table?
The one thing that we were looking for in recruiting was another guy that could finish. Last year Tijon made some game-winning baskets that helped us finish games, but then teams started late in the season focusing on him late in games and taking him away. So I didn't think that we had the kind of closing that we needed. And DeAndre, just in our recruiting process, he demonstrated that. Number one, he came from a winning program at Tallahassee. And they did a great job at their junior college there in developing him and helping him become the player that he is. But the other side of that is he had strength, he had versatility, he could shoot the three, he can get to the basket. And then, when you need to, he can make free throws at the end of the game. And against Cleveland State, he actually made the game-winning basket against them. And he's been stellar throughout the year. So he just added a dimension of versatility and another go-to guy along with Tijon that we can, rely on at the end of a game when we need a basket or when we're down 24, you can start making a string of plays.
And Tijon as well has become one of the best point guards in your league, one of the best in the region. Talk about what makes him special.
He just has an undeniable will to win, and he demonstrates that in practice, in the games. He never gives up. He's one of the most competitive guys that I've ever coached because he just is relentless in his attack. Now, he'll make mistakes. He'll turn the ball over every now and then or gamble and get out of position sometimes. But that's not because he's not, he's not trying. He's every single possession he plays as if it's his last one. And I think that's what makes him great. And then at the end of games, he has no filter. He doesn't care about whether or not he's going to fail. He's trying to win, and he tries to make all those plays that are necessary in order to win.
I love it. So you played Cleveland State twice now. What are the challenges, first off, of playing a team, for a third time, and second, what about that matchup are you looking forward to? What are you watching into the matchup and in what you guys are preparing for against a really good team?
Yeah, I think the first challenge is that they're Cleveland State, and Dennis Gates has done a great job in revitalizing that program. He's got some really good players in there, some talent, guys that can make plays, and he has multiple guys that can make plays, and that's the challenge. You just can't focus on one guy. Defensively, they're one of the best in the league as far as field goal shooting percentage that they hold opponents to, and that's one of the greatest challenges, how we're going to score and the ways that we need to. They change defenses. They give you a press, whether it's 2-2-1 or 1-2-2 press, or sometimes in the half court, they'll give you a 2-3 zone or a man or a 1-3-1. So you just have to be ready for anything. And on top of that, they're tough. So we have to make sure that we're ready for, full out war. And while there's a war, you have to be organized and disciplined at the same time. So it's a challenge without a doubt. We are programs that both know each other, and it's going to be a test of our will and a test of how tough we are going into that game.
Coach, what would you want people to know? Horizon League, I got a chance to experience it up close and personal. Traditionally, way back when Butler was in it, has a certain reputation. What would you want people to know about the Horizon League now? Because I think every league is kind of fighting for more respect. So what would you want people to know? Obviously, you had 2 conference champions. Obviously, a team like yours could beat anybody every night. You beat both conference champions. And there's other good teams as well. Just talk a little bit about the league that you would want people to understand.
Well, I think, our league is probably one of the best mid-major leagues in the country. There's balance and parity throughout. If you look at our top 2 teams, Wright State and Cleveland State, they can go any place and play anyone and have an opportunity to win. If you look at even us, we went to Kansas State and we had an opportunity to win late in the game and missed a 3-pointer to win. Cleveland State played Ohio State and was in that ball game, and we all know about Ohio State and how good they are this year. We have a great league, very good players, underrated players in my opinion. Someone like Loudon Love, who's the player of the year in our conference, can go anywhere in the country and play and probably even start. A guard like Antoine Davis can probably go into any conference in the country from Detroit and give you 30. And then I feel like, and Tijon came from Illinois, but guys like, Tijon and Dre, they can go and play and get things done. And so it's a very good league, and we have some great young talent in the league as well. So, this league is built for the future as well.
So I got to ask, Coach, built for the future, young talent, you're kind of hinting on some things. I know the buzz around the city outside of the program that you coach in and outside of the other collegiate program, there's a high school kid that's got some game. You know any of those guys? I know you can't probably speak too much, but there's one in your household. How about I say that? You can speak on your own relatives. How proud are you of his progress and his journey, and how fun has it been to be able to watch that as a dad? I know it's got to be rewarding.
Yeah, as a dad, we all know. I mean, I think, Brian, you just had a newborn, so I know you're going through that feeling as well. But as a parent, whenever your kids have success, and I have 4 kids, and whether it's my son and I have 3 daughters, anytime they have any type of success, you're just so proud of them, and you want them to do and be happy and do whatever they want to do with whatever it is, whether it's music or school or anything like that. And just speaking as a parent, I'm just extremely proud of how humble and just generous that of a young man that Patrick is. And same thing with our girls. They're very respectful, very smart, very intelligent, bright young ladies. And I'm just so happy and thrilled that we get to mold them and mentor them every single day. And we couldn't be more proud of them as parents.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say funny story, Coach. We usually ask a funny story, just lighten the mood before you go.
Yeah.
Do you have a funny family story? That's the first part I would ask. And then secondly, well, you can answer in any order you want. But what is the conversation like after you get a win? Does it feel like do you go home and say, "You ready to sign now?" Like, can you say that? Or how does that work? There's a conversation. How does that happen during March Madness? Because it's like, hey, this can be you. You know that, right? Okay. I'm just curious how that works.
I'll get to the story later, but I think I just walk around and I just wait for them to say something to me, and my wife leads that charge before I do. So she's a great assistant coordinator. She's a great associate head coach.
I like
because she does a great job with that for me, so I don't have to worry about that as much. I can stay on the good side.
I like it.
But a couple stories. Just when Patrick was going into his 9th grade year, we were playing one-on-one, but it was near his his grandmother's house, my mother-in-law's house, and we were at a park. And so we started at about, it's right before
So that means you
started the school year in September. What's that?
That means you still play?
I still got a little bit.
Okay.
I still got a little bit, but this was 4 years ago. This is about 3 or 4 years ago. So it was at the beginning of the school year. So in September, around the 20th or something like that. And it started to get dark outside, but we were just playing one-on-one. And so at that point, Patrick had never beaten me before. So my thinking was, I'm not letting him beat me now. But then he started to get the best of me. He was making shots. I think I had some foot issues that, from my scout days at Northwestern as an assistant coach, trying to, that hampered me. So he was getting the best of me. But then it got almost pitch black. I set the phone down and I put the record on, and I think I might have even taken some baskets away because he couldn't see the ball go through the net. So, but the last bucket, he hit it. He yelled "game" and just ran all around the park court, and came to the phone and just said, "Yeah."
I like it. I like it. Talking a little trash.
So my story is I just that was me letting him win so he can have some confidence going into his high school career. But then the last time we played, we were, and probably he was joking around. I was probably playing serious, but it got to 17-17, and as coaches, Brian, we have recruiting and stuff that we have to do. So I mysteriously received a phone call when we were tied at 17-17, and I had to go to work. So at this point, we're still tied at 17-17.
I like it. Smart move. That's a smart move. I love it. Kevin, you got anything you want to add to this conversation? I know you want to go Northwestern on him. I know you do. So whatever you got, unless you had it last week.
No, man. I mean, it's just it's always good to have another guy who appreciates the Cats like I do, and obviously you did incredible things for the program. So it's thank you for that, and helping lay the groundwork, and still pushing, hopefully.
It was fun. I had even a better time. It's great to play and call it my alma mater, but I had even a better experience as a coach because I had gone through my time, and then to be able to guide and help our young men that we had at Northwestern at that time, and navigate all the terrain there at Northwestern, and then to be a part of the program that got us to our first NCAA tournament. Right. That made me even more proud that I can help our young men achieve that as well. So I had nothing but great moments at Northwestern.
Yeah, cool to be a part of the place that you helped build as a player. To do that as a coach has to be super rewarding, and you're knocking on the door for this opportunity there at Milwaukee. What's the last thing before we let you go? What would you want people to know about your program specifically that just don't get a chance to really know much about it? Because again, there's so many programs. A lot of mid-major programs don't get the same exposure. What would you want people to know about your program at Milwaukee?
Well, I think first of all, like any program across the country, and I think there's some really good ones, whether it's low to mid to high. There's a lot of great programs across the country, a lot of great coaches, a lot of great players that's built on character. And that's the same thing that at Milwaukee, we're about character. We're about getting the right kids into our program that want to work hard, that want to compete, that want to get a great quality education, and come to a great city like Milwaukee that, I think has a tremendous amount of tradition. There's some legacy of guys that have been here before, that have been to the Sweet 16, and I think that's a great thing. But we have guys of character. We have men that care about their legacy and what they're trying to build, and we're really laying the foundation for our program, and looking forward to the opportunity to see our guys grow. And my biggest thing, and I tell parents this all the time, is this is not about the 4 years that we're here with our guys. I want to see, when they're 30 and 40 and they're married or they have their kids, and I want to see their development. And that's what we're all about at Milwaukee. And we certainly have great kids and great guys that embody everything that we're about here in Milwaukee.
Yeah, that's awesome, Coach. When I first got in this business, I was a junior college assistant. I know you remember this well.
Yeah.
And in Texas,
Yes.
you were coming to recruit. I think you were at UIC at the time, if I'm not mistaken.
Loyola.
I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I knew it was in Chicago, so forgive me.
No problem.
But no, I can remember even way back then, and you've never changed. It's so cool to see you go through the ranks of this thing and have success. And again, we just talked to Isaac Brown earlier on the show, and to see players celebrate their coach, I think is a cool thing, man. You've always had that, and I look forward to just seeing you continue to do great things there, man. We're behind you. And can't wait to we'll be breaking the news, Coach, when your son makes his decision. We'll be celebrating it over here. We'll be celebrating it.
No, I appreciate that. And I really, truly, Brian, appreciate you from the first time that we met. You were nothing but first class, and have stayed the same way. Hopefully your kids love you today or love you in 10 years as they do right now.
Right.
But appreciate everything that you've done and all the help that you've been with me throughout the years. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach. And great having you. Thanks for taking the time. I know you're preparing, but we got to celebrate those historic things, man. Sometimes you got to take some minutes, and it's so hard to get a win. So when you can get a win, definitely appreciate you taking the time to come out. And, Kevin couldn't believe it. We got another Wildcat. He's always
so. Love it.
Go Cats, go Panthers.
Yeah, thanks so much, Coach. Good luck, man.
No, I appreciate it, Brian.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Have a good one.
I love it. We'll let our man Kevin recap that one. Then we got a special surprise to end the show. Special surprise, another championship coach.
I love it. No, it was a lot of fun. I mean, again, the game was what March was all about. I think the great thing about the sport is you never know when the March moment is going to come, and that was a March moment of March moments. So hopefully they have two more in them and continue that story of grinding the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, so we had our first D2 head coach on. We'll have our first women's D2 head coach coming on. They both happen to have the same last name. The last coach is not related to me. This coach happens to be related. We have the all-time winningest head coach at Texas A&M Commerce for the women's basketball program, Jason Burton, coming into the building. Coach, what up?
What's going on, man?
Not too
Good
much.
to be here with the fans.
Yeah. We gotta change the bottom ticker. I think we gotta change that to the back-to-back Lone Star Conference champions.
Back-to-back North Division.
North Division. We'll get that edited during the commercial. But yeah, talk about the squad. Talk about how you've been able to do it back-to-back. You did it again during the middle of a pandemic season.
I think this year is a year we're very fortunate to have a lot of returners. We had just a great run last year, 28-3. Started out the year 25-0, just incredible. But to have so many returners from that year come back in a year where we only played, I think, 13 regular season games, and just in and out of quarantine, in and out, can't practice. We had a snowstorm in February here in Texas and missed a week. Missed 5 games, actually. So just that not being able to get your rhythm, not being able to get some of those new players the reps that they need, it's been great to have returners that have really led the way and stepped up for us. And we're number 10 in the country currently and the number 2 seed in our conference tournament. Tomorrow we play the number 22 ranked team in West Texas A&M in the semifinals of our conference tournament. So just preparing for that, man. Looking forward to it.
I love it. I should let Kevin get to the next one. He may not know as much about the Deuce, but I'm sure he's probably looking on his Ken Palm women's basketball stats right now.
I've been digging as we speak. I mean, it's I think one of the cool things just being around the college basketball world is how much good basketball is played everywhere, and people don't realize how much talent there is. Level and different differences in what every team has had to go through. Just talk about talk about your level. Talk about how good the basketball is where you guys are and what makes your league and your region so tough because there are so many good basketball teams in that region and nearly throughout the country.
Yeah, I mean it's special. We're in a really tough conference. We're here out in Lubbock, and Lubbock Christian University is hosting our tournament right now, and they're hosting it because they're the #1 team in the country. And Steve Gomez is the head coach over there, and he's won 2 national championships in the last 5-6 years. He's coached with USA Basketball. We put out pros in this league too. When I was here the first time, I was on the men's side, and I watched across the court and watched the women's team and watched Brittany Jordan, who was the leading scorer in the country, all levels, D1 through D3, men's or women's. Her senior year led the country in scoring, and then got drafted to the Sparks. And to see that happen at this level and in this league, it's been that type of way since. I mean, there's players in this league. We've been very fortunate this year. We have 2 sophomores that were first-team all-conference, 2 seniors that were third-team all-conference this year, and another senior that was honorable mention. So to have 5 players from our team make all-conference, another senior that was on the all-defensive team, it's been that way. And it's a league where I've seen players from the football side of things go to the NFL. And so I tell people, man, go where you're wanted, and we get talent. And, it's kind of like what Coach was saying before, whether it's low major, mid major, high major. I say the same thing about D2. There's some special kids at this level.
I love it. And talk about what you guys have been through a little bit more in terms of, the challenges of putting on the season, in terms of, you guys have weather cancellations, COVID cancellations. How have you been able to keep your team engaged and keep them ready to go for big weekend like this, the conference tournament?
It's tough. I tell you, I didn't realize how tough it was until I got COVID, and I had to go into isolation for 10 days and to not be able to coach my team for 2 games. And, my associate head coach stepped up and was big time and got 2 road wins. That was huge for us. But just to be away from my family and not be able to see my wife and my son and just to be in a room, I was like, I really understand what these kids are going through, but they've had to go through it multiple times. A lot of times us as coaches wearing masks and kind of being distant from players in practice don't have to go into quarantine, but our players, I've had some players that had to do it, especially early on, like 25 to 30 days straight. And it's been very challenging on them, but they've shown their toughness. And I think that's one thing that we can't say they're not doing, or that they're not ours, that they're tough, man. They're mentally tough to be able to play this year through all the challenges, through, game day. We've had multiple game days that we've gotten through shoot around, gotten through our pregame meal, games canceled because of COVID. And mentally that's tough. And to be able to, sometimes you pick up another game a couple days later or the next day and it's somebody else and you got to prepare on the fly for that. It's been very challenging, but it's a blessing to be able to get on the floor anyway, to be able to still play, to do what we love to do, and to give our fans and just the basketball community something to look forward to through this tough time, because there's been a lot of challenges, whether it's COVID or in Texas, it's been these storms, been a lot of challenges. And so to be able to give some type of bright spot to a lot of people, we really enjoyed that part.
All right. I spend a lot of time nowadays on Zooms and on phone calls with one Brian Burton. So we ask all our guests, like, give us a funny story about their careers. I need a funny Brian Burton story for the records here.
I don't know if you have enough time. He's like, which one do I go with?
Yeah, I had to make sure it's appropriate.
Unlimited amount. Unlimited.
Man, there's just been so many. I'll talk basketball. There's just been so many battles, and we've lived multiple places: Michigan, the Woodlands outside of Houston, Plano, and I have to say, just having 2 brothers that play basketball, that's been what's driven us to be competitive, to be so competitive. We always want to beat each other, but at the end of the day, we're always each other's biggest fans. And me and Brian had some battles in the driveway. I don't know the kids are still out in the driveway like that, but our neighbors probably hated us because we're out till 10 o'clock at night in the driveway with one little light, like Coach was talking about before. It's one light shining down in our driveway, getting shots up. We even had, we were fortunate at one point we had a pool and had a goal in the pool, and we're dunking on each other in the pool. we were just always playing basketball. And Brian did have to go to the hospital a couple times to get stitches, but I'll let him tell those stories. He was the finesse point guard. I was the one that played 2 through 4 and didn't mind banging a little bit. So, and then of course my oldest brother is 6'8".
I don't know about the finesse part though. We can't say finesse. That's like a.
He was a finesse. He was Mark Jackson. He kind of looks like him a little bit too. But
he was dropping
and getting about the assist.
In other words, dropping dimes and getting dubs was going down.
It's been fun though. This journey as an adult, man, to have his support. He definitely helped pave the way for me to be a coach. I started coaching because Brian started an AAU program called Dallas Hoop Dreams after my freshman year of college, and that's how I started coaching. And then I haven't stopped coaching since then. He started coaching college. I took over the program, and then I brought my best player, I think 3 years later, to the Dallas Mustangs over with Tony Johnson back in the day when I was on the men's side still, but started in the grassroots. Started on the men's side and was fortunate to transition over to the women's side and become a head coach in the college level. But it all started with those games in the driveway with Brian, man.
I love it. Yeah, you're muted, I think.
I'm back. Yeah. So real quick before we let you go, we're winding down. Back-to-back champions, all-time winningest head coach, undefeated season. What has it been like to inherit a program and then be able to have a vision to build it and then actually be able to be in place to do it? I think it's been incredible to watch from afar, but at any level, it's hard to do. We watch these guys, Division I, we respect it, we talk about it. You guys aren't on ESPN, but what has it been like to build a program to a national championship competitor? And you beat a team last year in Lubbock Christian that was kind of that signature win of beating that program at home and then still having that undefeated season, becoming an all-time winningest head coach, having girls go on to play pro. So many things that you've accomplished. What would you say that's been like, that journey?
It's been a blessing, man. It's nothing but God and a vision that he's had for me. So glory to him first and foremost. But I've been blessed to work with great people. From Ryan Ivey, who first hired me, who's now at SFA, to my current boss, Tim McMurray, who's a phenomenal AD. I work for some of the best people, just the rest of our support administration, but my staff has been huge. My current staff with Marquise Brown and Jean Marie Wilson and Kate Jibariva, who was my former player, and Taj Emanuel. I've had them the last 2 years. Brown's been with me for 6, Jean for 4. It's been nice to have that just consistency on my staff, but then we've had players, man. That's the real thing. It's taken time to get to the level of players that we have right now. It's been a process to build it, but I think anything that is good, anything that's going to be that's going to last, it's a process to build it. And so we started with some tragedy in my early years, but we've been fortunate to overcome that and have a story and have. We lost two young ladies my first year. But their pictures goes with us everywhere we go. It's here in the conference tournament. We touch their pictures before we touch the floor. And it's just been special. It's been special to be a part of this, man. Commerce is a great place with great people. And we're at that point now that we're trying to win a national championship. So it's fun to be able to say that, to be in the top 25 in the country the entire year this year, to finally make it, to work your way into the top 25 last year and finish within the top 10. It's been special, man. We got some special people here.
And you mentioned you got, a big one coming up, tomorrow night, and then potentially an even bigger one than the following evening. Give us a preview of what this weekend looks like for you.
Man, we've been to Lubbock twice now and not played a game. The NCAA tournament was supposed to start in Lubbock last year. We got out here and they canceled the tournament. We had a big showdown with Lubbock that was supposed to happen back in January. And that was one of those games I was talking about right after shoot around. We got an announcement of COVID and had to postpone that game, and it got postponed 2 more times. And so right now there's a big potential for a top 10 matchup in the championship, but we got to get through a top 25 team in West Texas A&M. And so, some really good coaches that are coaching right now, some phenomenal players that are playing. We get to play against the player of the year tomorrow, and a young lady named Lexi Hightower. who's a phenomenal player, super talented. It's their second time getting that award. But we have two first time and first team all conference players on our team, and a really special team as well. And so, we're just looking forward to it. We're looking forward to the chance to compete. It's crazy that we're already in the tournament because we've only played 14 games. And so to already be talking about a semifinal game and then a championship game on Saturday, we're glad to be here and just look forward to that opportunity. I think you're on mute again.
Yeah, I'm back.
He got to get with it, man. Got to get with it.
I was trying to give the ISO to my brother so I can get out of the way. Normally he's talking about I need to be quiet, so I'm trying to be quiet for him.
I know. I'm not used to it.
trying to change it up. And earlier it was Kevin that was on mute, so it's contagious. It's like sneezing. So in my travels, even as a Division I assistant, I would always stop through, and I thought it was really incredible to be able to watch the inside of people. Coaches always talk about culture. Kevin's right there next to Loyola Chicago. That's a big word there, and what they do, and many programs, any championship level program. You've won back-to-back championships, so obviously you have a culture. But I think it's been incredible to see. You're on the men's side, you're doing all this stuff, and then I come to the practice, and I probably take more from your practices, not because you're my brother, but because you're elite at what you do. So my question is, how does the approach change? How do you adjust? And obviously your culture travels with you, but how do you adjust for March? Is there a different switch that you're trying to push in your players? Is there something different you're trying to do? What is March like to actually prepare for? Because winning the regular season championship takes a certain amount of endurance, and then March is like this sprint. So how do you kind of shift gears to push your team to the next level? And obviously you've been to the NCAA tournament. You've already accomplished that. You've beaten Division I's. But I'm just curious, to make that March run, what is that preparation like?
Yeah, well, I think it's completely different this year. When we play tomorrow, it will be our third game in 28 days. And so it's a completely different approach because, normally less is more for us in March, and you're trying to scale back. You're trying to make sure you got your legs. You want to be well rested. You want to make sure. And we're talking about a lot of things like hydration and rest. That's been something we've been really stressing when you have to play back-to-back games in less than 24 hours. We play at 6:45 tomorrow night. The championship game's at 3:00. And so if you're not talking about preparation on Wednesday for a Friday game or a Tuesday, then you're probably missing the boat on that. And that's pretty much how March goes. It's a lot of mental work. You're probably doing less on the floor outside of just shooting and getting reps in to make shots, but it's a lot of watching film. It's a lot of breaking stuff down. It's a lot of mental, like little adjustments, things you want to tweak offensively, defensively. But at this point in the year, normally you know who you are. But for us, it's almost like you're kind of still trying to figure out who you are. But you want to make sure what you do at the highest level. And at this point in the year, you may add a couple things, but you just want to be the best version of you that you can be. And that's what we're trying to do right now. And trying to make sure that our players get to the floor and get to the floor healthy.
I love it. Well, any last words, Coach, before you run and you go take over the big seat when it comes to competition in March Madness? People don't really realize how hard it is when you're playing top 25 teams in your own conference tournament. But any last words you have before you go, and best of luck, of course, from us. And we appreciate you hopping on last minute because your brother asked you to.
Yeah, I think for me, what's been special about our program, and you talked about culture, is just the people and the family that we have. I've been able to coach and be around just phenomenal people that are doing big things, that stay in touch. That's what's so great about our program is our alumni come back and they celebrate whatever our current successes with us because they've helped and paved the way for us. And we had a young lady in our program that played for me for multiple years and it was a part of a NCAA tying record. She hit 9 straight threes in the game for us. Well, she's been battling in the hospital for 11 days. If you go to my social media, you can see and read about her story. I just want to say to anybody that may see this, if it's in your heart to help a young lady out that's a phenomenal person, to check it out because we want to help that family and her as much as we can. Her name is Courtney Fields, and just an amazing young lady to play for us and is a part of who we are today. And it's because of players like her that we're able to be in the top 25 in the country and currently top 10.
Yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. Well, best of luck, Coach. Thanks for taking the time.
Appreciate you getting me on, by the way, B, and proud of what you guys are doing here, what you guys are building. This is awesome. It's awesome to see you transition from being an amazing coach to this. And, wish you nothing but continued success. Proud of what you guys are doing. Keep building it. Keep doing things the right way. And nothing but greatness in store for you, man. Proud of you. Love you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Love you too. And go cut down those nets. Keep up the great work, and look forward to watching online. So I will say this. I'll let Kevin say one last thing. Kevin did get to evaluate my commentating of your games because he's a journalism major at a Guru, now with Sports Illustrated, and also with Northwestern, home of Mike Wilbon and Greenberg and all these guys.
Some legendary sports broadcasters that come from there.
Exactly. So I got to have some notes. So I'll let him say some quick notes on what he observed or didn't observe during that time of me calling your game.
Yeah, I want to hear
it. See, now you're on mute. See, that's what happens. You start talking.
We're getting killed, man. We really are. No, I thought he did a really good job, especially for a first timer. The big thing that he did really well was that he, did a good job of simplifying some pretty complex concepts into ways that average, basketball fans would understand. I think that is critical. I was listening to John Beilein do the Northwestern Minnesota game, and John Beilein is talk is just going on this long-winded rant about hard hedges and stuff. And I was like, well, this is great for basketball coaches, but my roommate over here has no idea what John Beilein is talking about. And I thought B did a good job of simplifying the concepts, but still providing enough depth that it was interesting and understandable about what's going on. So he's got a bright future in that if that's what he chooses to pursue.
Well, Kevin, I'll tell you this. I was like I said, I was on the men's side for 7 years. I started my career on the men's side at the collegiate level, and I almost took a Dobo job at Northwestern. My stepbrother played at Northwestern, and Tavares Hardy was over there at the time. And I flew out to Northwestern and went around and checked everything out, and wasn't in the cars. They ended up hiring a former player in that spot. But I was early in my career. I definitely went out there and almost became a Wildcat myself.
I would have loved it.
I don't think I was ready for that cold weather, though.
I don't think anyone is, man. It's horrible.
Not many are. And neither was Texas when you just had the snowpocalypse. So glad that's gone. Glad that's gone. Glad you guys are playing games. Best of luck. Thanks for joining us, and we'll have you back at some point soon, Coach.
Appreciate you guys having me. Thank you.
Yeah, surprise guest there for Kevin. He wasn't expecting it. He didn't know it was coming. We had the little brother on, man. So he's done phenomenal things. It's great to be able to support him and see what he's been able to do. And, anytime you're a sibling or a parent, you just want the best for your family members. So been awesome to see him kind of carve out his path and break records and become the all-time winningest head coach and have beat Division I's and develop pros. And I think even more so what he talked about with the young lady in the accident. I mean, excuse me, not the accident, but the young lady that's in the hospital right now. I mean, just the character of him as a man has been really impressive to see that part unfold. So anyway, that's my brother rant. I could keep going.
I just wish he gave me more dirt on you. I just got to say it. Yeah, I was hoping for more. Got to say it.
I'm sure next time. He's warming up. He's focused on Mark.
He's got games to win this weekend. No problem here.
He does, and I invited him on. So you got to be selective. He wants to come back, but next time, I'm sure next time he'll have it ready. Well, cool. I'll let you wrap up the show. We had an awesome lineup. 3 head coaches, championship head coaches. To have Isaac Brown after what he's kind of been through this year, and to be able to come out on the other side and be named head coach. He actually told me he wasn't coming on all year because he was focused on the job at hand. And then at the last minute, he said, when I get this job, I'll be glad to come on. And then he got the job, and he followed through to his word. So I appreciate that greatly from him, which is just so awesome of him to take the time. I do think they're getting in the tournament. I'm calling here now. We said it earlier. I don't care what the bracketologists say. And then Pat Baldwin, for him to be able to come back and won a championship with Northwestern where he played, helped them go to the NCAAs, and for him to be knocking on the door and having 2 historic comebacks and starting March off right, to be honest. Awesome to have him on, a first-class guy. And then, again, Coach Burton, Jason Burton, back-to-back North Zone champions, had an undefeated year through the first, 26 games, 25 games last year. Fun show. And then in the middle, we had Kevin's bracketology. The first time you've done bracketology.
I gotta say, you left me on an island for too long. I was gasping for air, running out of breath. You're really hanging in there. But no, it was great. It was a great show. The guests were the stars as always, and we're fortunate to kind of give them a platform to share some stories, and it's great. And hey, like I said, it's the best time of the year. So please enjoy some college basketball. You never know what's going on. UTEP is currently beating Kansas right now by 15 points in the second half.
Hey,
we'll see if it holds. But UTEP is currently beating Kansas in the second half at Allen Fieldhouse. So you never know. The unpredictable time of year.
Gotta love March. It's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. Until next time. Next week will be to be determined. We'll see.
The boy will be in Indianapolis, so we'll see what happens. Maybe he'll get me from the bowels of Bankers Life Fieldhouse. He'll get me from a random room in an NBA arena, just hanging out and doing a show. It'd be great.
So what's going on in Indiana? You got to tell the people. They want to know. Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah, so I will be. My primary focus while there is broadcasting a Big Ten women's basketball tournament for Northwestern. I'll be our team radio guy, which will be very exciting. Hopefully, we have a deep run in us. I've went the last 2 years with them, and they've lost in the first round both times. So I hope I'm not the jinx. If we lose in the first round this time, I guess I'm the jinx. So a good thing is I'm a senior, so I won't be able to do it again, even if I wanted to. So if I'm the jinx, we'll prove it, and then they'll be safe for the future. But I'll be in Indy all weekend or week, I guess, next week. Check out some men's basketball as well while there. And please, if you are in Indianapolis for Big Ten tournament week, hit me up and let's have some fun. So
going down. I love it. Well, to be determined whether we will be on next week or not. I'm sure at some point before it completely wraps up, we'll have another episode. But
we'll be back.
You know where to find us, and look forward to it. Thanks for the support, and stay safe, wear a mask, tell your loved ones you love them, and watch all the basketball you can in March. Until the next time.